And we're back with another episode of Let's Play Lost Odyssey. I'm your host, the RPG Guy, and oh, the tears are flowing from my eyes. No, it was a sad funeral, but that's the way it is. And Mac is missing, and in order to have good Mac, we must talk to Cheese. The Crimson Forest is in the mountains to the west. We better hurry. There are monsters showing up outside of town. Okay, fair enough. So, as stated before, Cook is in our party. Or as we might just go with Cheese, because that's such a better name for her. She is pretty much the white mage of the party, where Jensen's kind of the best of both worlds. Not the best of both worlds. The best is a very loose term. He's dabbles in both worlds of magic. But Cook, will outclass Jensen usually in white magic later as the game goes on, but Jensen has other purposes in life, and you will see, because you might say, well, wait a minute, if she's the white mage, that probably implies there's a black mage. You might be right, but don't worry, Jensen has a purpose to be the black mage and to back up heal as needed. And guess what, we're gonna have two memories to do, because I want to get them out of the way now. So, story time with the RPG Guy. I believe one of these is on the shorter side, but we're more than we're coming up to the halfway point of being through most of these, and we're only like 9 episodes out of probably 50 in, so we're getting there. Evening bell. Rolling farmlands spread out before him. Kime harvests vegetables, wielding his hoe with deep concentration. The sky on this autumn evening is a deep crimson. Maybe we should call it a day, says the heavy-set woman who owns the farm. She drops an armload of vegetables into the basket. Kime nods and wipes the sweat from his brow. You're a tremendous help, says the woman. Look how much we've done. Kime responds to her praise with a slight nod. You still can't remember where you came from, she asks. Afraid not. Well, the way you work, she says with an easy laugh, I don't care if you're from the moon. Seriously, Kime. What will you do when the harvest ends? I don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind. There's plenty of work to do here, even in winter, she says. It'd be fine with me if you wanted to stay on a while longer. Thank you, says Kime. She herself is a hard worker and a warm human being. This is not the life that allows for luxuries, but going out to the fields at dawn every day and evening, and ending work as the sun goes down softens the heart even as it toughens the body. As they prepare to leave the field, a small bell begins to ring. The hour is still somewhat early for the church's evening bell. Kime glances down to the road at the base of the hill. A funeral procession advances slowly along the road, the mourners surrounding a horse cart bearing a coffin. The woman sets her hoe on the ground, removes her headscarf, and claps her hands together. Kime scans the hills to find that all of the other workers on the surrounding farms are doing the same thing, clasping their hands, bowing their heads, and closing their eyes in the direction of the passing funeral. Kime follows their example. The old man leading the funeral procession swings the little bell. Its ringing echoes among the hills. The mourners pass in silence. The women in black veils, the men in black coats, heads bowed. The children in the rear elbow each other playfully, unaware of the meaning of death. When the funeral has passed, the woman raises her head and blinks her moistened eyes. The one who passed away is going home, she says. Home? Kaim asks, somewhat startled. Home. To the soil, to the sky, to the sea. Like all living things. Kaim nods in silent recognition. How many deaths has he seen in this endlessly long life of his? All those people leave this world of ours and we never see them again. In that sense, death is an infinitely sad event. If, however, we think that in dying they go back to their home somewhere, a certain comfort and even joy comes to mingle with the sadness. But Kaim, who can never grow old or die, can never go home. The woman scoops up a handful of earth and says with a deep feeling, many lives have become a part of this soil, the lives of tiny living things we can't see, the lives of withered grass. If you think about it that way, our vegetables are made for us by the lives of many others. I see. Can I ask you a favor, Kaim? Of course. If I should die while you're working here, would you scatter some of my ashes on this field for me? A handful would do.
It creates zombies.
Kaim is at a loss for words. He forces a smile. Husband dead, children of their own. The woman lives by herself on the farm. Kaim knows that if he goes on working here, like it or not, he will eventually have to watch over the woman's deathbed, even if she were to die 100, 200 years from now. The church bell rings, signaling the end of the workday. The woman clasps her hands before her as she did when the funeral passed. I've been allowed to come safely through one more day. For this I give my heartfelt thanks. May tomorrow be another healthy day for me. Her voice in prayer resounds forcefully in Kaim's breast. This happens every time he hears the church's evening bell. The conviction overtakes him that he does not belong here. Ma'am, he says to the woman after the last chime resounds. Yes? Wouldn't you say that people give thanks for each safe day, and pray for good fortune in the day to come, because they know their lives will end? What's wrong, Kaim? I'll be leaving the village when the harvest is over. But why all of a sudden? What's happened? I have no right to live here, he says. Ignoring his stupefaction, Kaim lifts the vegetable basket in both arms. He takes another good long look at the setting sun. Where will you go, Kaim, if you leave here? I don't know, somewhere. And you just keep wandering like this? I don't have any place to go home to, says Kaim. Hoisting the basket onto his shoulders, he starts down the hill. His back glows right in the setting sun.
See, that was a short one. Sometimes they're going to be short like that because, you know, it's just kind of an understanding thing for him. This is one of the weaker stories. You could argue, depends on how you interpret things. Some people would actually find it not to be that weak. I think it's fine, but I remember a friend of mine. I was showing him this game when it came out, and we were reading that story, and he's like, "That's not as cool as some of the other ones." I'm like, "Eh."
To each his own. To each his own.
But anywho, let's keep moving. Because we've got another one. But first, Robo-Tildos. Don't ask questions, just accept what they are.
You know war's a thankless job. Apparently not.
Oh, Jensen.
Damn, they must be planning to invade Ura.
Jensen, what did you do? We know what he did. Come on. If the game wasn't too on the nose with about a lot of this subterfuge-like stuff and kept it more ambiguous, that would actually make this game like 10 times better in the opening part of the game. Eventually, this whole awkward part of the narrative loses momentum, and it actually gets like the story heightens on its own. But I know some people kind of see the subterfuge stuff, and they're like, "But they made it so obvious." And I'm like, "Yeah, they did. They didn't need to make it that obvious. They should have been a little bit more careful with how they do it." Well, that's just the way it goes, doesn't it? Time recalls a memory that was locked deep within his heart. Yay, one more! I think this one is a slightly longer one.
Portraitist of the dead. She always has mourning clothes with her. That way she can begin a portrait as soon as the request comes in. And so it is today, having slipped into her mourning dress. In the shed on the pier, she boards the downstream ferry. Her hands are full. One holds a case with her painting tools, and the other the garment bag for her mourning dress. She has heard that a rich man lies dying in the town 20 kilometers downstream. Her name is Rosa. It's a race against time, she says with a grim smile. I have to start as soon as possible before the face changes. Changes how? Kym asks. It's hard to say. There's a deepening strain in Rosa's smile. But I know it when I see it, when the person has gone from this side to the other side. Once they've gone over, I can't paint them. At least not in a way that will please the family. It just can't be done. Rosa is a professional portraitist of the dead. The custom of preserving death masks is now widely practiced in this area. Families too poor to hire an artist dour mold in the face of the newly deceased with dye and preserve the loved one's deathbed expression on a cloth pressed against the dye face. Some families make a death mask with plaster. Only the wealthiest families can afford to hire a professional like Rosa. So that looking in the background of an individual's death, there could be a variety of disputes. I have heard families quarreling over the inheritance behind my back, even as I sit there sketching the dead person. One window presented my portrait of her husband to the court to prove that he had been poisoned. Another time, some loan sharks waited until the moment the man died and charged right into the house. One husband tried to spit in his wife's face as soon as she gave up the ghost. Apparently, she had been unfaithful to him for years. Rosa tells her story with utter detachment. She reveals no emotion at all. This, she says, is indispensable to becoming an outstanding portraitist of the dead. You have to open your sketchbook and get your brushes going with the bereaved family members right there, overcome with grief. There's no way you can produce a good portrait if you become emotional or allow yourself to be swept up in the emotions of the other people in the house. Kym responds with a silent nod. His only connection with the woman is to have boarded the same boat and sat at the same table in the cafe on deck. Only a few minutes have passed since she started volunteering her stories, but that is all it has taken for Kym to perceive the hint of nihilism lurking in her beautiful features. The more respectable artists despise painters like me. Why is that? Well, half of them accuse us of making our living from people's deaths. The other half look down on us for not being moved by what we do. I see their point. I mean, the emotions are what give us rise to all the arts. Whether it's painting, sculpture, music, or literature. We don't have emotions like that. We're nothing but craftsmen. Rosa speaks without a hint of either self-mockery or pride. Her tone suggests that she is merely stating in an obvious way. Chaim takes a sip of his rye whiskey, and Rosa drinks from her rose-petal tea. The boat makes its leisurely way downstream. The season is spring. The river is high with snowmelt, and white water birds have settled on its surface. Strange, Rosa says with a giggle. When I first saw you, I thought you and I must be members of the same profession, which is why I took the initiative to speak to you. Chaim gives her a strange smile. He knows nothing about painting, and he is fairly certain there is nothing about his appearance that would cause him to be mistaken for an artist. It well could be, however, that in the profile of this man drinking whiskey alone in the afternoon, Rosa has recognized the hue of a nihilism like her own. Or then again, she might have perceived the shadow of the other side clinging fast to Chaim's back. Until a few days ago, Chaim was on a battlefield. There he witnessed the killing of many enemies and many allies, but he was unmoved by any of it. Such youthfulness has long since vanished from him, though outwardly unchanged. Chaim has lived through several centuries. Rosa says that she is in her mid-30s and in her 10th year since becoming a portraitist of the dead, which apparently puts her near the beginning of her career. If you wouldn't mind, she adds, I have a few more things I'd like to discuss with you. When Chaim nods silently in compliance, Rosa thanks him and gives him her first heartfelt smile of the day. Portraitists of the dead are never present while the subject is dying. The very fact that such a profession has been called means that the person's death is imminent. And so there is seen as a presence of ill omen and even defilement. A family member or friend who has been at the bedside dares to broach the subject quietly in another room. Don't you think it may be time to call a painter? The answer, whether too soon for that or I think you might be right, is delivered in guarded tones. Introduced to the family by the church, the portraitist never enters the house by the front door. Rather, he or she goes around to the back and is shown to a room where the sun cannot penetrate. There the painter changes into mourning clothes and waits for the announcement of the death. Eventually, a quiet knock on the door is followed by a summons to appear. The painter, dressed in mourning, sets to work. Not all deaths occur at the end of long lifetimes, of course. All too often the painter must depict the face of one who has died young, of illness or accident. The face that emerges in the artist's sketchbook radiates with the delicate
Sorry, guys.
The face that emerges in the artist's sketchbook radiates the delicate vivacity of one who has just crossed the border dividing life from death. One who has only moments before transited from this world to the other world. The work presented to the family is an oil painting done from a sketch, but Rosa believes the sketch itself is far more authentic portrait of the dead. There's nothing quite like the atmosphere in a room where someone has just died. How to put it? It's as though the flow of time has stopped, or time itself has melted into the very air. The sobbing and the wailing sounds as if they might last forever. The only movement of time in all this being the way the face of the dead person emerges little by little onto the blank, white page of the sketchbook. She hands him her thick sketch pad. "See," she says, showing him countless faces of the dead. "This is 2 years' worth. Many of the faces are peaceful, but others are full of agony. A doll, without exception, poses a mysterious presence. They differ unmistakably from the faces in sleep. Neither, however, do they look dead. They seem as if they might open their eyes at any moment, or just as easily crumble into ash. They hover, men and women alike, on the very brink of death. After the body has cooled, it's too late. It's also too late if the family has begun making its preparations for the funeral. The game is won or lost in those very few minutes following the death itself. All we can do is start sketching, as efficiently and expeditiously as possible." With a painful smile, Rosa adds, "In the eyes of the family, though, that makes me a cold-hearted woman." Kime turns the pages of his sketchbook, saying nothing. He would like to tell her that it is the same on the battlefield. There, no one has time to mourn the death of a soldier. If you're busy shedding tears instead of doing the next thing you have to do, you end up being one of those forced to travel to the other world. The final sketch in this book is unfinished, the face of a young girl. The general outlines of the hair and face are sketched in, nothing more. Kime looks questioningly at Rosa. "My daughter," she says softly. "But why?" "A portrait painter of the dead reaches full maturity in the profession when she is able to paint a member of her own family. Which only makes sense. I mean, how self-serving is it if you can be coldly objective toward the death of a stranger, but not towards a member of your own family?" "Her daughter died 2 years ago. The girl's 3 short years of life brought to a sudden end by a bad flu that was making the rounds. I was holding her hands almost until the moment she died," Rosa says. "I was in tears, calling her name and pleading with her to come back to me, not to die. After the doctor looked at her with a shake of his drooping head, though, Rosa released her daughter's hand and opened her sketchbook. Wiping her tears, she picked up her pencil and tried to sketch her daughter's face. But I couldn't do it. The tears came pouring out of me no matter how much I wiped them. I simply couldn't work." Kime turns his gaze on the unfinished sketch again. Some areas of the white paper were wavy, perhaps where Rosa's tears had fallen. "I guess I'm not qualified to be a portraitist of the dead," she says with a smile, glancing down the river. "But still, if I had to choose one work of art to leave behind, this would be it." The boat gives a blast on its steam horn. Frightened, the birds on the river leap into the air in a great mass. Kime closes the sketchbook and returns it to Rosa. He considers complimenting her on the excellence of her drawing, but chooses silence instead. Such praise, he feels, could be a sign of disrespect for her work, for Rosa herself, and for her dead daughter. "I didn't mean to bend your ear like this," she says. "I'm sorry." She stands and peers at Kime once again. "Really, though, you look like a member of my profession." Kime gives her a strained smile and shakes his head. "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that." She responds with a strange smile of her own. "You probably won't like me saying this either, but please call me if you ever need a portraitist of the dead." "I won't need one," Kime says. "I have no family." "No family? Well, then, when your own time comes." With a little chuckle, Rosa leaves. Her right hand grasps the case with her painting supplies. Her left, the garment bag with mourning clothes. Unfortunately, Kime will never need her services, and he cannot go to the other world just yet. On the long, long road of his life, how many deaths must he encounter? The steam horn blasts again. The boat gradually lowers its speed and edges towards the river bank. The landing draws closer. When he leaves the boat, his journey will begin again. It will be a long journey. The next battlefield lies far beyond the mountains that tower in the distance.
Interesting. As soon as you die, somebody paints you while all the family's like, I want the car, I want the limousine, I want this, I want that. It all belongs to me. Mother likes me more than you. That's just the way it's gonna be. Go fuck yourself. No. If I had kids, it'd be split evenly, and then I would like write up a will specifically giving what is mine away to specific people. I would never allow them to fight like that. I would not want that. I would not wish that upon anyone. And trust me, I've been around enough, like, not with my family, but, like, with other funerals and stuff. Like, I go in as, like, a witness for, like, the will readings and stuff, and the way people fucking, like, there's a movie you should see called Gran Torino. Okay? The end of that movie is pretty much how, like, a lot of families kind of are. Not to say that every family is that way, but I've noticed a lot of families being that way. Or having people in that room that are the way that the person who died's children and grandchildren act. And it's fucking disturbing. But it's a great movie. It's a great Clint Eastwood film. I highly, highly recommend it. Oh, would you like to be playing this cube hero, huh? You don't know what cubic music is? How can... Wow, I can't believe it, and it's so much fun, too. This is a special cube, you see. When you hit it, it makes the most beautiful sound. This is a side quest. We play the score, we give it a shot, and we get a reward for doing it correctly. What song would you like to try? First steps. CEGC. No, that's not what I wanted to do. It's fine. We'll have to do this. We'll have to do this again, I think. So we're looking for... I believe we needed all 4 characters. Yeah. Whoops! Let's try it again. You need all 4 characters to do it. So we need... Because there's 4 notes, we need 4 characters to do it. So it's CEGC. Damn, Cook, that staff's bigger than you are. Like, way bigger than you are. So we need C, E, G, C. And there it is. This is side questing fun, guys. So we're playing, and we get, I believe, force magic, which is very important to have. Yes, force. See you later. Come play again soon. So non-elemental offensive magic. Think of it that way. That's why it's got to be done. And we will be doing more of those as the game goes on. Yay! Alright, so you can see we are on the island of Numara. And we're going to head into the Crimson Forest. Now, we probably want to get our main characters to our early characters to level 19. And the reason why is because Jensen will learn some new spells. I think Cook doesn't. Well, what level are we now? We're 17. So we might want to try to get to level 18 or 19 while we're in this wonderful place.
Wow, it really is crimson.
Well, I overheard in town that there's a reason this forest has been crimson for years.
Isn't it just the color of autumn leaves? Although, it is incredibly intense.
So,
The reason the Queen forbade entry was because the Crimson Forest is cursed, stained with blood. It's also called the Forest of
and the
Sorrow.
forest of time of the month. I made a funny.
Now, don't be a wimp.
It was 500 years ago, wasn't it?
Huh?
Oh, that. Huh.
Well, what? Tell me.
500 years ago, a country to the east invaded Numara. This forest is now crimson, the color of the blood from those who fell in that battle. Who knows how many thousands of forgotten soldiers lie beneath the soil, staining this forest red for eternity.
We'll just get Greenpeace to come in here and clean up. I mean, Greenpeace doesn't do environment. We'll get an environmentalist team to come in here, clean out the bodies. Ew, no. Now, there's a couple different ways we can go here. Yeah, we'll go this way. Of course, we will save. Yeah, well, no, we won't. We'll be fine. Remembering my own advice I gave earlier. Save between episodes. Not during the middle of one, unless it's, important. Angel's Plume? Sweet. Because we didn't buy more of those. And it's very relevant to, in dungeons, to use that map as a really good way to navigate through here. Nice. Remember, we have to collect these for a side quest back in Nomara. Another crystal fragment. And nothing's happening. Looks like something made by the Eastern tribe. I guess it wouldn't respond to us since we don't know any spirit magic. Keep that in mind. The other thing I want to check out is... Takes 10 SP, huh? You know, we're gonna take a break from what from the status effect stuff just to work on lucky 0 damage. There's a reason to do it. Don't worry about it. It'll make sense later. Nice. Let's keep moving. Kick the mushroom. Another delicious crystal fragment. And you'll notice Kaim has cat ears on. That's why I want to get this done sooner than later.
Guess we have no choice.
Doo-doo-doo. But it only takes 10 SP to do it, so it shouldn't be that long. Soul Eaters are bad news, man. Bad news. Maybe worth actually putting on the information regarding enemies, just to see what goes on with their HP, so we can figure out how to actively take these enemies out efficiently. Well, that sleep didn't work, or did it? No, it didn't. What is it? Wind. So they're weak to fire. You know what? Let's go for the one that likes to... Let's go for the enemy that likes to paralyze people, shall we? Just a whiff. And that's the other reason you go for him first. Oh, Jensen. As you can already see, the battles here are a little bit more... Whoops. Are a bit more intricate than before. In other words, there's a bit more to them. As these enemies are already showing that they're pretty tough. And whatnot. 'Cause we've got the best gear possible. But they're still kind of kicking our butt. Or drawing the battle out. But you can see that these little guys don't have a lot of HP. And we should get, I think, 4 SP for this, which is not bad. So, like, learning skills here, you'll learn pretty quick if you really need to or want to. And look at that, a full level for Cook just in one fight. 4 SP, some nice goodies. Kym and Seth learn level 2 white magic, and Cook learned prayer. Alright, so now they can go and learn something else. So they're done with Jensen for now. Our specialty characters. So let's see, what else can they learn from Cook? Casting support would be a good one. Followed by probably concentrate and then prayer and angel's heart. And really quick, let's go with that on somebody. Can't do anything about that yet. Back there. Let's keep moving. And we get flung into a forced battle, because this is also going to be a thing.
Not too smart, eh?
Which, again, just by the noticing of the enemies, fighting is probably a good thing. As we now get Spiritua, who are fire enemies, and there's a Soul Eater bug in the back row there, so we can't do much until we can kind of get to them. But one thing we can do is a lot of enemies seem to be fire and wind related. We don't want to put wind rings on. We'll want to put water rings. Because if we put wind rings on, that's good for the fire ring on, that's good for that one enemy, but not good for the others. For the Spitura. I called them Spiritua. Spituas. And then why not? Hurting a little bit. There's a kill. And you can see that the Soul Eater is consuming the Spitua for a reason, so putting a stop to that is just so important. Get him. Nice. Now, there is something I didn't think about setting up, which we will set up momentarily here. Which should help the overall ability to get through these battles that I totally just forgot I should set up. And this is why. This is going to be stronger than the last time we got hit by prison. Ooh. We really needed her to pull through for us. She didn't. There we go.
Well, what did you expect?
Cook will level again. And time learned lucky 0 magic damage. Yay. Now we'll put him back on the status defense stuff. For reasons. So he was working graciously on that at the time. The mint ears there. Now what I forgot to do with Cook, because I'm a jackass, we don't need antidote brooch, we need... There, level 2 black and white magic. It makes sense. That's good enough. Kick the mushrooms. Pour some delicious crystal fragments.
It's Max. I wonder if he slipped. You know that kid's not too bright after all.
He was eaten.
Mac must be ahead of us. Let's go.
All right. I don't want to go through there yet. We're not ready to go through there at this exact moment.
No one gets in my way.
So we've got Colons who are water elementals. God damn it. Which means we need to change our rings again. But now you need to keep track of the fact that... Oops, in the wrong area. How many enemy types there, of Colons there are. There's something they can actually do, which would be bad. For water elementals, what was it? It was Earth. That's right. It's... Don't ask why, it's just the battle system in this game. The elemental affinity in this game, rather. Do you have to really do this? No, we could just go with the Herculean ring, but I do want to see if we can actually get potentially more damage out of this. See, now she has black magic too. Get the kill. Oh, didn't get it. This is what I was afraid of. But they're so stupidly cute. But yeah, they get an uber attack. Ooh, even with the shield, rose shield, it was too much damage. Yeah, they hit hard when they do that, but when they don't do that attack, they hit rather normally. So killing as many as possible is paramount, as you can clearly see. He salutes to his own death. Yeah, lot better. Toast. So that actually went pretty quick.
waste of time.
And we get 5 SP for that. So as you can see, learning abilities around here is pretty easy. So again, taking advantage of that is also equally good. Let's go ahead and learn new skills off of Cook, since that skill link is done. That's fine. Even though I'll probably not use that skill at any point, it makes sense to just have it done. And we need to heal Cook too. Heal her full. Ooh. Let's go this way. And we get a seed. Let's get them. Well, let's see what we're going to be getting here. Ah, the other enemy type, frogs. I think they're earth, aren't they? Oh no, they're water as well. Grand Toad, because they can't use Gigan Toad if you really think about it. So they're water-based. We'll hit them with ground magic. Let's do it. Seems like it's more damage, so... Oh no. He's making it rain! And we're all poisoned. Luckily, this battle's not going to last very long, so the poison's probably not a big deal, but we'll see. They have a lot of health. Yeah, they have a lot of health. Baking a lot that Kime doesn't miss, and we get a perfect. Ooh. Ooh, no. What have I done? Come on, Jensen. Yes! Thank goodness you're not completely inept. Oh boy. Well, you notice I'm burning through MP very quickly. That's okay because we're gonna save and do all this other stuff before we continue in the dungeon, so it's not like it's a big deal. Kicking shrooms. We can't use that disc thing over here, so don't bother with it. I mean, you see it doesn't do anything. Let's keep moving. And there we go. So we've pretty much done a victory lap around the first area. We're back at the save point. So you probably will want to take this as an opportunity to either go back to town and heal or do the heal trick. As we got more of this dungeon to go. It's actually kind of a big dungeon, so not as... I'd say it's about as big as... Actually, this is the biggest dungeon probably to this point. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/JackTarStudios for more live gaming action. As we will be going deeper into the Crimson Forest now that we've collected a whole bunch of stuff. And we've still got more crystal fragments here to find, amongst other things. As well as skills to learn. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We will see you guys next time.